going on, everyone? I'm back with another video, the third video in this Discipline Priest in-depth Mythic Plus. So this video is going to cover stats, gear, and trinkets, and kind of what to look for, what to play with, things of that nature in Mythic Plus. So like I said in the last two videos, these videos are geared more towards players who are at that 15 key range and looking to go into the 16s and 17s, and they already have a pretty decent understanding of Discipline Priest, but maybe they don't know as much as they want to know. So this guide is kind of geared to help those players out, kind of push them into those higher keys. And if that's you and you're watching this right now, I hope this series helps you out. So let's start with, we'll look at the vendor here, and by gear we can look at the Azurite traits that are available to us as Discipline Priest. So in this first row we have Depth of Shadows. Each time Purge the Wicked if you're talented into it, otherwise it's Shadow Word Pain. Deals damage. The healing of your next Shadow Men is increased by X amount up to a maximum of X amount. So that X amount goes up with the item level of the piece it is on. And then the atonement applied by Shadow Men lasts an additional 2 seconds. And then we can also have Enduring Luminescence. Powered Radiance restores X amount of additional health and applies atonement for 70% of its normal duration. Wheel and Woe. Healing an ally with Penance increases the damage of your next smite by X amount. Damaging an enemy with Penance increases the absorption of your next Power Word shield by X amount. We won't read these ones specifically because they're not specific to Discipline Priest. Moment of Repose. Pain suppression applies atonement to the target and instantly heals them for X amount. Contemptuous Homily. Penance deals an additional X amount of damage and extends your Purge the Wicked by 1 second per bolt. And I'm going to read this one. It says Shadow Specialization, but this is kind of like the go-to stacking Azurite trait that we go for. And it's Shadow Specialization, but it does transfer over to Discipline Priest, and it also transfers over to Purge the Wicked. So Death Throes. Shadow Word Pain deals an additional X amount of damage over its duration. When an enemy dies, while affected by your Shadow Word Pain, you gain 5 insanity. Obviously the insanity portion does not apply to us, but we do benefit from the additional damage. We already read Depth of Shadow. What else we got here? Sudden Revelation. Powered Radiance has a 50% chance to cause your next Holy Nova to deal X amount additional damage and reduce the cooldown of Powered Radiance by 3 seconds. We already read Contemptuous Homily, already read Enduring Luminescence. I think that is it for specific Discipline Priest traits. Yeah, I did that one. Okay, yeah, pretty sure that's all of it. Yeah, okay, so let's just get into it. Let's get into, so what I have equipped, so I have a Death Throes, Enduring Luminescence, and Depth of Shadows. So those are my specific Discipline Priest choices, and let me go over why. So as I said just a little bit ago, Death Throes that transfers into Shadow Word Pain damage, or even though it's a Shadow Specialized Azurite trait, it does transfer over to Discipline Priest. And it also gets benefit, or gives benefit to Purge the Wicked. So this is kind of the seen as the one trait that you would like to have at least 2 of. You want to have 3 if you can afford it, but it's kind of really up to user discretion. Obviously, this is always up to your personal playstyle, how you feel most comfortable. But if you look at the Discord, you look at the Wowhead and Icy Veins, you look at the top streamers, most of these people are stacking Death Throes because that extra dot damage you're doing is just obviously extra damage and it's also extra healing through Atonement. So your overall throughput, DPS, and HPS is just going to go up. So I stack those. Let's go over why I have Enduring Luminescence and Death of Shadows. So I go with Enduring Luminescence, at least one of them, because I like the additional Atonement duration that I get from it. The additional healing it does is really kind of negligent. It really doesn't do much at all. But it's really going for that extra Atonement on a party-wide heal and Atonement flyer. And then Death of Shadows, I kind of went over this a little bit in my second video regarding how it plays well with Spirit of Preservation, Minor. Just gives a bigger boost to your single target heal that Discipline Priests kind of lack. And then also you get an extra 2 seconds on the Atonement when you Shadow Man. So that's actually, just if you can put Atonement out for just a little bit longer, it's a really good idea to at least get one of those. So this is why I run what I run. These are not by any means like best in slot stats or Azurite pieces. I kind of rolled, just kept random rolling, and I landed myself into these pieces, and I enjoy them so far. Obviously, I wish I had best in slot, but they give me, they get me to, they do a good enough job to get me where I want to go. So let's talk about the non-disciplined priest traits. Ideally, anything with secondary stats. Like that's what you want to go for. Is just anything with secondary stats. And even let me back up a little bit more. The 4 different traits I have, or 3. 1 Death Throws, and the 3 specific Discipline Priest stats that I have, or traits that I have, are pretty much all you need for specific to Discipline Priest, because everything else is kind of really lackluster. The only other one I might recommend to give you that like kind of extra comfortability of I need to help my tank out in that oh crap moment would be Moment of Repose, because you pain suppress. When you use your pain suppression, you apply Atonement, and then you heal them for a pretty big amount. So that's going to help you with your mastery. So if you put, that's kind of like that's another big single target, like shit, this person's about to die, here's my oh crap button, pain suppression, boom. They get atoned, so they also get benefit from the mastery when this heal comes in after the Atonement, so it does a little bit extra healing. So that's the only other one I would recommend. The other 3 or 4 however many there are that I've read earlier in the video, I don't really recommend them at all. They're just not that great, and the 3 I'm running are kind of it, kind of all you need. You have the extra Atonement duration from Enduring Luminescence and Death of Shadows, so they're pretty much really good to have, and then you just have extra damage, which does extra healing on your dot that you should have out at least 90% of the time. You should always have something dotted up at least. So that's kind of all you really need. And then when you go into, after you get those 3 on your character, you want to start looking at, okay, what can I do to boost my secondary stats? Because Discipline Priest, we love secondary stats, and all of them are pretty good to us. And I'm going to transfer, or kind of segue from the gear into the stats. And speaking of stats, you can see my baseline setup here. As you can see, I have, let's click that off, but that's not secondary anyways. But 28% crit, 40% haste, 22% mastery, 10% versatility, 2% leech, 3% avoidance, and 5% speed. If I had to choose what to alter right now, I would probably take 2% from mastery and 2% from versatility and give that 4% to crit strike, and then I would be really happy. I would be happy at 32% crit, 40% haste, 22% mastery, or 20% mastery and 8% leech. Fuck, 8% versatility. I would be very satisfied with that setup. Unfortunately, the gear I've been getting from Mythic Plus and my random chest have not blessed me with that, so I just play with what I got, and I work with the corruption that's on the vendor at a certain time, and I just play around it and roll with it. So let's talk kind of like a hierarchy for your secondary stats. Like I said just a little bit ago, all of our secondary stats are very good to us and very important to us, and they're not like, it's not like one is just way up here on the totem pole and the rest are way down here. They're all very close in terms of value to us, even mastery, but mastery is probably our least important just because it does not do anything to help our damage. So our mastery is called grace. Your healing and absorption is increased by X percentage on targets with atonement. So as you can see, that's very good, useful for throughput. But discipline priest is, the name of the game is do damage to heal. The more damage you do, the more healing you're going to do. So the reason this is last on the list of secondaries is because it just does not do anything for your damage. Crit, haste, versatility, they're all, the same across all the classes now. They all just do the same thing. Haste, in my opinion, is the number one you should go for. Your dots are going to take faster. Your penance is going to come back faster. Not your penance, the powered sauce is going to come back faster. What else comes back faster? Your smite gets reduced, your global cooldowns get reduced. So just having that haste baseline is just going to help you out a lot. It's going to help you with your cast times, your speed up the cast times. So you can get more smites in there. Instead of doing a 1.5 seconds smite, you're doing a 1.1. And over the long term of the dungeon, you're going to end up getting more smites the higher haste you have, and the smite is good to use because it does apply a damage absorption on the enemy you're hitting. So in my opinion, haste is where you want to be as far as like if you had to pick just one to kind of focus on for a little while, I would recommend haste, and then closely after that I recommend crit, because what good is all this haste and you have no crit and you're just sitting there kind of like tickling damage or the mobs and then the healing meters. Crit, you're going to want to have some of that too, just because crit is just good to have. I would put that as a close second behind haste. And then at third, I might even say, I would say third. Never mind. Third is versatility, and then fourth would be mastery. And if you're looking at tertiaries, I recommend leech, because we do damage to heal, so we can passively heal ourselves with leech just by doing damage. You don't need a whole lot of leech, 2%. I wish I would have more like 8%, that'd be nice. And I wouldn't really have to worry about putting an atonement on myself. I could just let my leech heal me. Avoidance is good to have, just to reduce that damage taken from area effects. And then speed, just because we're pretty much a wheelchair, and just having a little extra speed is kind of nice. So, to recap, haste, I would say, is our number one secondary stat, closely followed by critical strike, closely followed by versatility, and a little bit further down that from those three would be mastery. And the reason being, like I said, haste, crit, and verse, they all help you out by helping out with doing more damage, which means they're going to help you out doing more healing. Mastery only helps you out with healing. So, do with that information what you will. Highly recommend going haste, then crit, then verse, and then mastery if you can. But if your gear for whatever reason is a lot of crit and mastery and not too much haste, not too much verse, or a lot of versatility and haste, or a lot of crit and verse and a lot of mastery and haste, or whatever it may be. Now with Corruption Vendor out, there are ways you can play around it. If you're heavy on one stat and you don't want it to be so heavy, you can start using your gems. Your gem slots to go for that ideal secondary stat you want. You can go with your rings, you can enchant those to what secondary stat you want. Ultimately, then you can go with your weapon too, if you want a quick draw or whatever it's called, the haste one, there's crit ones, there's versus one for all the secondary stats, and then there's one for your main stat plus a little bit of your secondary stat and Machinist Brilliance. So no matter what gear you get, item level is kind of the king, maybe except for your rings, because these are kind of more of your stat sticks. And if you have something like you're comfortable at 30% haste or so, and you get a ring that's versatility and mastery, and that haste is going to go from 30 to 20, and you just don't like to feel the way the character is anymore after that, then sometimes that's where you want to look at, okay, item level is not king here, so I'm just going to leave whatever I feel more comfortable with in my secondary stats. But as far as like every other piece goes, maybe besides Trinket, I would recommend going item level first, and then looking to haste, then crit, then versatility, and then mastery. So, I don't recommend having any type of, okay, you want to have at least this much crit, this much haste. You know, I'm not going to go into all that because that's kind of all user preference. And if you like playing with 20% haste and 18% versatility and 13 or 30% crit for whatever reason, then good for you. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you like what minimum number you want to have. I'll just let you know my opinion that it should be haste, then crit, then verse, and then mastery. If you're looking at this video to help you decide, okay, what is my secondary stats hierarchy? So speaking of stats, we're going to roll into trinkets now. And my current my equipped tier, the Humming Black Dragon Scale and the Forbidden Obsidian Claw, both trinkets from the new raid, the Nyalotha raid. I recommend this one here. The Humming Black Dragon Scale has crazy amount of uptime. It's up for like I think at least 50% of the dungeon you're benefiting from this haste. And the small movement speed, which is pretty nice too. So this is something I highly recommend. This one's almost like a guaranteed should stay on at all times because of just how much of that haste is there. This one here, Forbidden Obsidian Claw, this one almost is another locked in too because it's huge single target damage. It does not transfer to Atonement Healing, but having that huge single target damage is very nice, plus you get mana back for it. These two are almost locked in. Like I would replace these with mythic pieces if I had them. If I did the raid mythic, if I got them, I would put them out for mythic. I mean, that's pretty much it. I have some other trinkets here in my bags that I thought about playing around with and thought about, maybe I'll shuffle this here and there and blah blah blah. But I've really just settled down into these two right here, and just for the reasons I explained. But let's look at the dungeon journal and look at all the trinkets that are available to us. If you don't raid, you don't have the means to raid, if you don't have anything of that nature. So we're going to look at what you could get from just doing dungeons. Revitalizing Voodoo Totem, this one is interesting because this is a big single target heal on a relatively short cooldown. This is something, if you feel like you need that extra throughput still, and you feel like you're not getting enough from your Spirit of Preservation, you're not getting enough from the Death of Shadows trait, you're just not getting enough of that single target, you want that third, just kind of like blanket to help you feel more confident in your single target healing, I would recommend this one, Revitalizing Voodoo Totem. You can get this from Atal Bazaar. Freehold does not give us anything, King's Rest does not give us anything, Mechagon. So this one is, I have it, I don't play with it, I've never tried it, I am interested in it, but I'm not interested in doing lower keys right now just to test it out. So let's read, you use it, you can channel to store 4,096 mana in the mana battery, up to a maximum of 16,384, that's a 1 minute cooldown. So, you can channel to store X amount of mana in the ingenious mana battery up to, okay, so you can channel to store battery, so when you equip it, okay, so while your mana is above 50%, you gain versatility, increased by up to 100% by the mana stored in the battery. Okay, while your mana is under, this one seems this one might actually be an interesting play. Maybe I'll play around with it just to kind of see like what I can do with it. I don't know this one, I've never personally used it. I have it in my bag here somewhere. There we go, I have a 465. So I'm not going to say yes or no on this one, but if you are someone who's watching this video and you do play with it and you like it or dislike it, let me know in the comments. Let's see, Shrine of the Storm. This one is interesting. Your spells have a chance to grant you X amount of critical strike for 15 seconds. So this is one, this is kind of like a budget. This is good to have if like this is all you have, because the uptime is only about 20%. So this also helps you out if you feel like your critical strike secondary stat is lacking from your gear, your gems, and from your enchants or whatever. This can help you out, but just keep in mind, like, you might get an awkward proc where you're a proc off the last dot you used on a mob that just died, and now you're running, and now you're benefiting nothing from this extra crit, because it's only up about 20% of an overall dungeon. So this one is a good budget piece to have, especially if you need that extra critical strike. But if you have, if this is all you have, then I would play it, obviously. I just wouldn't put it up there as like a top tier trinket for us. Nothing from Siege of Borealis, not Ballista Borealis. Your next 6 healing spells restore mana. I don't recommend this one at all. Never played it, but I just doesn't, like, if you just read it, like a 2-minute cooldown, and your next 6 healing spells restore that much mana, like, that's not a lot. I don't recommend this one at all. If you have it and you feel like you have something better, even if it's a smaller item level, maybe you equip this one just because it's a higher item level, just to get more intellect, but you don't use it. I don't know, I wouldn't recommend it. Nothing from Motherload, nothing from the Underrot. Toll the Gore. This one is not bad because it's that secondary again, but it is this one's on you, so you have a lot more choice when it comes to, okay, I want this, my haste now, instead of, okay, I'm going to sit here and wait for a proc, hopefully I get a proc soon, okay, the fight is over, I didn't get a proc that whole fight, now, like, I would have benefited from a little extra crit, a little extra haste. So this one I would put above that Conch of Dark Whispers. I would put this one above it because you get more control over when you get that secondary boost. And lastly, we got Wakecrest Manor. I don't recommend this one because it's base mastery. Like I said earlier, I see mastery as our least important secondary stat. If for whatever reason your mastery is sitting at like 8% and you just want this just to get your mastery up a little bit, go for it. I mean, getting that much intellect for that long is pretty good because intellect just means more overall damage and more overall healing through atonement. But it's just you have baseline mastery, which I just don't recommend having a lot of. Your damaging spells, or Lady Wakecrest music box, your damaging spells have a chance to cause a cacophonous chord, I don't know, dealing X amount of damage to a nearby enemy. Your healing spells have a chance to cause a harmonious chord, restoring health to a nearby injured ally. This one's, I don't think I've ever had it at a serious level to kind of really judge like how good it is. It sounds pretty good. It's just passively, it's either going to do damage or it's going to heal. It sounds pretty good. I would recommend this, especially over Balefire Branch, 100%. I would recommend this if you have it. We can look at, I guess I want to look at the raid just because I said this is like, for whatever reason you can't get access to the raid, then those are your dungeon budget trinkets. I highly recommend doing something you can to get into the raid and just keep grinding until you get those trinkets, because the raid trinkets right now are really good. Even if you can't get into the raid, you can do the Mythic Plus or the Mythic Dungeon weekly that we had about 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. I actually got the Psych Shredder from the weekly quest, which is nuts. And this is just a direct, straight damage. I don't have it on my piece, on my Discipline Priest, because it's just straight damage, and I'm doing higher keys. I'm doing more like 18, 19s now, and I want to not that comfortable yet with, like, I like having the mana on my mana when I want it and do a big single target damage with this one. And I just like how much haste and how much uptime I have with this one. So I'm not quite ready to just go for full damage right now, but I have it in my bag just in case. And this one here and this one here, both are shadow specific trinkets. They both do very similar things where you attack something, something goes out of that trinket, hits that mob. If there's more mobs near it, it does more damage, blah blah blah. This is one, these two are another one, like okay, maybe I'll play it more Mythic Plus because the AoE, and maybe play in Fortified weeks and just benefit from the extra AoE damage. A Psych Shredder could be more of my Tyrannical week. And I also have Contra Dark Whispers, 2 of them. This one could has Leech on it, this one could have a Socket on it. But those are stuff you can get from both these two, or Discipline Priest, or Shadow. These 3 here, Hadal's Nautilus, Vessel Skittering Shadows, and Psych Shredder are all Shadow specific. So, I'd love to hear what you guys have in your bags right now, what gear you guys have equipped right now, what Azure traits you're playing right now, what your secondary stats look like, what type of build you guys are trying out, how do you counteract, like okay, I have this much haste, but I want to have this much crit, so I play the Contra Dark Whispers. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys are playing with. And actually, before I conclude this video, I want to go back to my Azure. So, yeah, meticulous scheming to the haste. That's pretty much the best in this option here. This one here, Clockwork Heart, because all that secondary stats I get for 12 seconds, and then that's just the best option here. I'm not going to do Stack Enduring Luminescence. Don't need mine because it does not do 140% atonement duration. It just does a little bit extra healing every time I use it. I don't need that. So that was just a real quick. I don't think I went over that too in depth before. And let me just, while we're here, just go down to the rings. So I just highly recommend, real quick and simple, highly recommend any of these. Just minor secondary stats. You don't need to have Heed My Call do more damage or less points to do a little bit more healing. If I could, and there are secondary stats options for me, I would 100% take those instead. Like this one here, Versatility and Speed. If I had 3 of those, that'd be cool. If I had another one where it did Mastery and Leech, if I had another one that did Haste and whatever, I don't care. I'd much rather have secondary stats passively or proccing versus the other 2 I just mentioned. So if you're in that comfortable position where you have your inner traits that can just do, here's more secondary stats, I highly, highly, highly recommend going for those. Anyways, before I keep on rambling on and just keep talking, because I could talk about this for, I could probably talk about this for a long while. I'm just going to end the video here. Thank you all for watching. Please let me know if you learned anything from this, if you don't like how I went about the video, if you don't like my ideas on what's good Azure traits, what's good trinkets, or what's good stats, or if you do agree with me and you just want to talk about that, please leave a comment. I'd love to get back to you guys. Anyways, thank you all for watching.